What's up, vaping fellas? Today I got my new tank in. You might have seen the preview, now I'm going to do the review. Well, this is the Jwell DUPLX tank. This thing is spelled DUPLX, I'm just calling it duplex because this is the most rather sensible option I can take. I mean, calling it duplex is kind of weird, okay? So, this is a tank which has pre-made coils. They're around 0.5 ohm and 0.25 ohm, and they retail for about $2 to $4. Or you can have, as I am using it, the rebuildable base. I'm now running this thing with a, let me check real quick, kind of home built. Now the cool thing about the duplex is that aside from the pre-built coils, you get a dripping cap on it, so you can use it as a dripper as well. Now, whether this is a good or a bad thing or just a gimmick, I'm going to tell you in the close-up. This thing is running at 0.5, 0.6, no, well, 0.25, 0.26 ohms. My ohm meter just sometimes randomly starts to putting out numbers that can't be true, just like 5 ohms. I had that. So, this tank is actually rather nice, but it's a mashup between different tanks I have seen, or I believe it's a mashup, but that is a good thing, okay? You got a rather stiff airflow, okay? This is not really open draw like maybe an Atlantis would be or something, but on the other side, an Atlantis doesn't come with a rebuildable base, and I bet if it would, there would be some restriction in the airflow. And that's basically the way those rebuildable bases are set up. I'm going to show you that in the close-up. Okay, but for now, I'm using this thing with 2.5 ohms. I'm going to do a lung inhale. You can see the vapor a little bit, and then we're going to do the close-up. Well, we're going to do the close-up after I tell you what I meant. This thing is a mashup, okay? You got a rather stiff airflow, just more K-funish, okay? But this thing is definitely on the flavor side. It's not really a cloud-chasing tank, just like the Atlantis is, or the TFV4. That's nothing like this. But on the other side, it saves you liquid, and that's a good thing. This thing holds either 4 milliliters with the finished coil or 3.5 milliliters with the RBA head. For me, that difference doesn't really place out, okay? I don't really recognize it. But for me, I'm going to use this thing when I'm outside, okay? When I'm going to my university, when I'm going to my job, whatever. So, I need this thing to hold at least 5 mils. Now, 4 mils, 1 milliliter down, but as I said, you won't really notice it. And I can usually run about half a day with a 10 ml bottle and a filled up tank, okay? And that's a really good thing, because my dripper runs through 30-40 milliliters a day, and that is not good, okay? I mean, think about it, I'm using 20 milliliters on a half a day. Sometimes I'm actually using 50 milliliters, and you know how big those bottles are. You need to carry them around with you. Now this is a neat little tank, it puts out vapor. It produces not quite the clouds, but I don't need the clouds when I'm just vaping outside to get my vape, my satisfaction, okay? And this thing definitely does a trick. It got the airflow on the top in the drip tip, which is kind of, you can adjust this with this thing right here, you're going to see that in close-ups, which is kind of TFV4 like, okay? They kind of had this design. Another tank before had this design, I can't remember the name right now. And on the other side you got this really cool steel tank with a tiny little window, which is not a downside. I'm going to explain why in the close-ups. And that is basically something that I'm used to from maybe something like a Aqua or something, okay? The Aqua has a really big tank, but there was an Aqua version 1 or something that had a really tiny small window. And I think there was something like Goliath or Goblin-like, which has a really small window, which is a nice design element, okay? And obviously the Delta version has these long slots which are going vertical, but they are still not really big, and you definitely can see a juice level through that, but they're not big, okay? And this is definitely a neat little design thing which I like. This thing actually looks visually really appealing, and this is one of the reasons I chose this tank. When I got in the store, I asked for something with a really open airflow, which I could rebuild. So they brought me a Horizon tank, but the problem with that is you need to have like a wick that goes in the tank below and wicks up your liquid from there, and I'm not used to that, and I thought, okay, let's not waste 80 bucks on something I might not like, or which may horribly leak, okay? Most of these Genesis style airflow, Genesis style tank atomizers tend to leak when you lay them on the side. Not with this thing. This thing hasn't leaked a bit if you build it right, okay? If you miss out the cotton, yes, I have had that. I had a really neat little coil in there, but no cotton. If you miss out on that, obviously this thing gonna leak. But if you do everything right and you kind of get the hang of it, it's not gonna leak anytime soon. You need to let a little bit of air in it from time to time. I'm gonna tell you that in the close-ups. But for now, it's really nice. It does the job, and it is kind of a mashup between different tanks, but it really brings out the best in those tanks, and really combines the best in these tanks. So let me get a little quick vape, and then we're gonna go close up. Just nice. And here we are in the close-ups. Okay, so this is a box. As you can see, there is a little tiny Allen key lying on top of it. Now, one thing I couldn't fix was that my camera is sitting on a tripod, and I actually turned that around. Because otherwise I can't grab on here and show you things and stuff. But like that I can manually refocus if something's out of focus, which I think is really nice, because I saw my building video in a full screen, it's just complete glare. Okay, so if you open this box, one thing you will find is this Japanese cotton. I've used nothing of this. And some pre-built coils. Those ones are 1 ohm, and I think usually you get 0.5 ohms with it, but I didn't got some. Oh, well, here are some, okay, with a silica wick. I'm not going to plan on using that. And you got three screws, which are normal filleted screws, and some extra O-rings. It completely doesn't make sense to me why there are 3 screws if you have 4 posts, but okay. Let's get to the tank. Now the tank is sitting in here. I've been using mine in the FaceTime portion, okay? So this is already juiced up, and a little bit of juice has gone over it while I rejuiced it. This is the basic tank as you receive it. Now normally the RBA section would be here, and the finished coil, which is a BCS coil. So I think Jwell has standardized them or something, so you can easily swap between tanks, which is a smart idea. This drip tip comes with it, but I've seen those tanks coming with different drip tips which have like a laser engraved triangle on it, okay? So let me get this really close and then focus on that. Okay, focus is over here. I hate manual focus. Okay, so here we have the DUPLX tank. Now, usually you would screw down this portion, which we will do once it is empty. That is why I have a little cut in the middle. Now this is a drip tip I told you about, okay? If you adjust this ring, you will see 3 holes coming up. And I will hold this even closer and show you if it will focus. No, won't do it. There it is. Okay, can't get it closer. So if I open this up, you see that there is something moving in there. You probably can't see it, okay? There are 3 little holes which give you airflow. Now this has been called flavor killer by a lot of different reviews on different tanks. Yes, it does take a little bit of a flavor, but it more like fades it down a little bit. It's not really killing it, okay? Let's get down to here again. Because now we get to this thing, okay? This is a drip cap as I call it, okay? So you have it like set up like a standard 22mm dripper, okay? You pull this apart, you got your airflow options in here, dual coil, single coil, you got your kind of chimney-like section, okay? And you got your airflow windows right here. Now if I turn that, as you can see, this is only single coil, so the other side is closed. You can open or close down the airflow freely, and as you screw it on here, you got two airflow options, the bottom airflow and the side airflow. You can open them both for really good airflow. That's actually nothing to be ranting about. It's really good. Or just bottom airflow, or just side airflow, open airflow. Okay, you can definitely drip through this, and this is really a drip cap. Diameter, well, let me put it on my lip. It's okay, it feels nice. It's definitely not as big as my Doge. Let me see, maybe it is. Here, kind of the same diameter. And I have had no issues with that at all. I think those bigger caps are quite nice if you want to use up all that airflow. Okay, you have got some heatsink fans over here, which should keep the atomizer cooler longer. I think those things do a really good job, and as you can see, the vapor is moving through there, so vapor should be theoretically cooled down as well, which kind of works, okay. Now we got this tank. To fill it up, you screw down this top portion, which I think is really nice, and then you got the choice if you want to use a real little hole or the big hole. I would recommend always using the big hole. Then you put your liquid bottle on top. I'm not going to put liquid in there because I'm going to drain it in a second. And press down, and you can really hear the air moving out of the other hole. And maybe you can see there's some liquid going away from the hole. Now, here's the thing with this kind of filling method. And I don't know if it's the same on all tanks, but this thing screws on, and as you can see, this head has this nice big deterrent piece to keep it cooler and make a good seal, okay? If I really screw this down, this thing heats up. Everything is going to expand because it's metal. Metal expands when it gets hot, okay? Then you will have problems getting it off. Off again. Well, another thing is that it actually makes such a good seal that there is no air movement in there. And if you're draining a lot of liquid into your coils, there is kind of vacuum created which holds the liquid back to going onto your wick. Now, what you have to do from time to time is take this thing, screw it up a little bit till you hear like a distinctive, just like a really miniature blow-off valve on a car, okay, like a, and then you can just screw it down again. It's nothing to be worrying about. If you're not chain vaping like I do, you won't really encounter this problem. One thing you can obviously do is just from time to time when you pick it up, screw this a little bit loose and then on again. Might be a con to some people, for me it's definitely not. Now here you can see the juice level windows, and this is all out of focus again. I hate it. Okay, so now normally people say that is a bad thing, but what you usually do is look at it from the side, just like I do, okay? And then obviously you can't see your liquid level, but if you turn it horizontally, just like almost perfect, and then look to the windows like this, you will see that the juice level fills up a little bit, and that is basically your juice level. How much it fills up of this window is your juice level horizontally, okay? And that's basically how you measure out your juice levels. So I don't know why everybody says that small juice windows are a problem. For me, they're definitely not. Now I'm going to drain this tank, and then we will see each other again. And here we are back with the already disassembled tank. First I was going to drain the liquid, but then I thought, nah, that's a waste. So I sat back, watched some old Top Gear episodes, and vaped it all up. So this is basically the rebuildable section, okay? You got this bell, which I like to call it, and you screw it off. Now the threading for the bell is on the posts right here. One thing I've noticed, if you press on it and then screw it down, it will always be messed up. So one side is higher than the other and you can't fit it in the chimney. So what you do is put it slightly there and then start to just screw in and it will find its thread and then will stick on nicely. Now most people would measure that as a con. I do, but with a little bit of getting used to, you just really quickly get it. Now this is the rebuildable deck. Let me just quickly take this out. And show you. Okay, so the airflow comes from the bottom right here, which is massive airflow slots, but only this little of airflow gets transferred up into the coil head. Now, thinking about it, you probably could drill out holes right between the massive holes, just like, what is that? That might be 2 millimeters or something. Let me check. Yeah, something like this. So you could sneak in 1.5 millimeters between that, or 1 millimeter, but yeah, you don't need it. If you're satisfied with the vape as it is, then you really don't need it. Now I'm going to take off those old coils which I built today. It's not really old, but I'm going to take them off. Then you will see the postless deck, and this is one of the amazements about this cool little dripping thingy. Well, because that's the next thing we're gonna do. We transform it into a dripping atomizer with the drip cap and then vape it like that. So, okay, so the thing with postless decks is that first let me get my Allen key. Now, that is another thing I've got to mention. This is a really, really little Allen key. And throughout my whole career with tools, which most likely were fails in most of the times, I never encountered an Allen key that small. So if you lose this, you will probably have a big problem. Because I don't know whether you can get a new one. So just hold on to this thing, you will need it. Okay, so these are grub screws, okay, so they tag Allen keys. You just screw them out. And there goes your first coil. Just goes out like this. Now, as I mentioned, there are no posts. Is that in focus? Yes, it is. There are no posts. You just slide your wire in one of these holes, and when it touches the bottom, you just screw down the screw. And that is basically it. Now we're going to build a bigger coil with this. I'm trying to use 21 gauge. I think it will fit. And we are getting into the, let me aim for something roughly, maybe 201923 region with the ohms. 0.23, okay, not 2 ohms. And then we will use it as a dripper, because with a drip cap, dripping atomizer cap, you can really go lower. I'm only going to show you the winding of one coil. The next one I'm going to use to do off camera. Same goes for the wicking. So first my wire. Where is that? So here's a wire. Had some trouble finding it. So this is really messed up, as you can see. I'm just going to take a reasonable amount, which is with this atomizer, because it is postless. Damn it. Just one rotation of this roll, usually, because you really don't need much. You just need as much as you need to fit in there, and that's the next thing. You got to judge by eye how long the leads can be to still get in there and fit, and that is nothing to worry about. After 2 builds, at least 2 builds, you should get it out. First time, as I said in my preview, I need half an hour or something. Now this is going to be much less. Okay, so screwdriver. I'm going to waste a whole lot of cancel here. Now we're going to do, let's say, 5 reps. 1. That's the first one, if I can get it right. 1, 2. It's a little bit of frame. I know. 3. 4. Okay, that is No, that's about where I need to clip it. Let's just only do 4 reps. That should be okay. Pinch it together a little bit. And now I can take off this coil, bring this lead down. And there we actually get our 5th rep, I guess. And then you can just clip the lead till they're evenly long. Pull that out. Kind of bitch with this thicker wire. So now I'm going to clip the cancel right here where both leads are ending. Okay, so right here. I hope this is not off focus, but I really can't control it right now. Pinch together a little bit. So I'm just going to show you how it works, and then I'm going to do it properly. Okay, you just slide it in right here and here. Then you tighten up the screws, and with a little bit of luck and eye judgment, it will be the exact amount. Now this is obviously far too much, so I'm going to clip it, let's say, let me see, right here, okay? Just where my fingernails, okay? I'm just gonna clip it right there, and then we're gonna use it as a dripper. Now I'm going to bring the coils out a little bit, and a little bit higher than the airflow, as I usually do it on my dripping builds. So the coil will sit about there, so just a little bit over the airflow, and that's about it. And then we're gonna vape it. So another cut right here, and then we will see each other when I got finished. So this is a finished build with the wick in, okay? So the wick is out here. Now usually what you would do, which is pretty cool, put it in these Jwells / trays or something, and then you can turn the little ring on the bottom, and you get 2 holes, one for higher PG and one for higher VG. So basically, if you got higher VG, you open both. Now, if you would be really wanting to burn like 100% VG or something, you could drill those out. So basically there's a really small, I don't know if I can get that in focus, okay? Currently I'm not thinking that I can. Okay, so you see the one in the middle, so where the metal pieces, technically you could drill it out, but I just see no point. So, but what I've done is I've not stuffed this in the trays for the usual RBA tank section. I just put it on these sides, okay? Now next thing is I'm going to screw on the drip cap, and yes, you heard right, this is a screw-on cap. Now most people are gonna say, but if it's screw-on, I just can't take it off for dripping. And usually you would drip just through the top cap. Now with this one, I won't recommend that, because if I pull this off, and that's basically the cool thing, you can just pull this off and put your liquid right on the coils. If I pull this off, you see that in the middle is the airflow hole for the bottom airflow. If you open that up, you got a problem. If you're just dripping liquid on it, because obviously it's going to pour out to the bottom. Now, let me quickly measure this build out again, because I'm guessing I'm in a 0.27, 0.28 range. And on my dose, okay, I got no bottom airflow. There's really just a side airflow. I can build huge coils, and they just behave different, okay? So if I put this on here, trying to get this in focus, you see this is a point. What? 0.3? Doesn't seem right. Well, it is. Okay, you see it is a 0.20. Okay, my ohm meter is again jumping randomly. Okay, 0.20. This is a 0.20 build, okay? Normally I vape on 0.1. And that is a whole difference, okay? Because you will get bigger clouds out of that. But my batteries aren't fully charged. Now, before we go to FaceTime, I wanted to break in the finished coil. The finished coil head, okay? But because this is a finished coil head, I'm just going to show it to you. And maybe in a video later, I'm going to use this actually. Okay, my chip card is full. Let me just quickly finish, okay? You got big slots for wicking, liquids going on top of there. Now, I'm going out to FaceTime again. We vape this with fully charged batteries. See you there. And we are back up. Okay, you see, I have different clothes because I had to check it because yesterday I was getting a ton of leakage, you know. I was just having the atomizer in my hand, and while I picked it up to my mouth, it just drained the whole tank over my hand. Hot liquid. Not nice. So I kind of played around with it and I thought, okay, you can't recommend this tank, it's shit. But it's not. It was my fault, okay? I had a different liquid setup. I used a different liquid which had more PG. Now I'm on my 75% VG again. And I'm quite sure you could run maybe 100% even or 90% something. I have a different coil setup in here because I figured that getting below 0.23 or something, you really get more heat than vapor. And now I got 0.25, which is still ridiculously low. You should run this tank at 0.3 around there, okay? Because otherwise you get more heat than really flavor or vapor, okay? But it's a great tank. We're gonna take a vape on it. And I promised you I would show you the RDA section, but my fault, okay? I will make maybe a video later in my update or something where you see dripper section, okay? The thing about the dripper section is that I first thought that you have only this cap, you screw it on and then it's over, okay? And you just pop off the airflow to re-drip, and that is horribly wrong. But this tank comes with really stiff O-rings, and it's all really stiff, which in my view is a plus point because over time those things gonna wear in anyway, okay? Now what I figured out yesterday due to accident was that you can split it up right here. Now like that you can just pop the top cap off and drip in there, and with this ring on you actually have kind of a juice wall, which is nice because first I didn't have it, so I just laid my cotton on the sides as you saw, and then screwed on the RDA section, and that's my liquid, and then just vaped it. And it was a bad vape because half of the cotton I had was jammed into the threading, okay, which is not nice. So we're gonna take a vape and then I'm gonna wrap it up, okay. Okay, so what do I think of this tank? Would I buy it again? Well, short, yes. Long answer, nah. Okay, so I think this is a great tank. I've adjusted to the airflow. I thought it was super stiff, but now I kind of get the hang of it. It's okay. I draw slower, not as strong as on my RDA, and then you really got enough airflow. It's not a stiff vape. It's not something that you have to aggressively pull on. Okay, it's not tiring for your lung muscles or something. Okay, it is a nice vape. It's got a good airflow, and as you see, got a lot of vapor. I first said it was on the flavor side. Now, reviewing the footage I've shot, I recognized, oh, that's actually quite a lot of vapor. So I think if you're not about a too huge cloud, okay, but you want definitely a little bit more than maybe on something like a K-Fun, okay? K-Fun is something which is really all about flavor, and you can't really do super crazy builds on it and make huge clouds, okay? Okay, then you take this tank, okay? It's okay. It's got a really good cloud production, but it's not like a super fogging tank, okay? Nothing like a TF V4 or an Atlantis version 2, but all those tanks don't have a rebuildable section, and as you saw, the airflow's in the middle, so the airflow is always as stiff as the tightest point in the system, okay? Now the chimney is the same diameter of this hole, so this hole is basically the main stiff thing. And if I just this halfway closed, down here on the airflow control, I still have the same draw. And that's basically because there is not a lot of air moving through this hole, but definitely enough for me. One thing I recognize is that at first, the first few hits, you kind of taste the cotton. And that is something I'm not a huge fan of. I don't like to taste my cotton. I don't want to taste my cotton. I want to taste my juice. But after a few hits, that gets away. Because I think that's basically something with the saturation of my wick. Now, the way you set the wick up is, on normal tanks, you would leave a little bit of gap between wick and the hole, and maybe the bottom of the hole. Okay, you would just put your wick in the top of the hole. Because I'm multi-RPG based juices, you can have them go up there and really have a wick, otherwise you will get burnt hits because your cotton is too compressed to actually bring up liquid to the top. Now with this one, you just lay your wick in front of the holes. Don't take too much wick, don't stiff this thing up, don't wick up, don't give too much wick in there, okay? That's basically the point. Because if you really fill this juice well up, then there's no wicking because the wick is too compressed to put liquid up. Okay, you just lay it gently in front of the holes and that's basically it. Then you open the holes. Now adjust to your juice. If you get something like 70% VG-ish, okay, you should have 1.5 holes or both holes open. If you're lower than that, please only open one hole or the whole tank is going to drain through the airflow on top of your hand. Now because of that reasons, and you have the ability to use a dripper, this is a great dripper, this has got tons of airflow, I could build really super sub-ohm builds on that. It's not like a really stiff 22mm airflow, it is okay, it is a huge airflow, and it's got at least the same amount of airflow as I get in my 26X Doge, okay? Maybe a little bit less, but that's all coming down to personal preference. And I like this dripper, I really like it, and I probably will use it as a dripper in the future. And the fact that it's postless means you have a postless tank and a postless dripper. So if you're all about this postless stuff, you should look into this tank because basically you get a postless dripper and a postless tank. And if you don't want to use it as a dripper, it's okay, nobody forces you to. Now, if you adjust your pulling on the tank, it's really quite silent airflow, okay? Now as you saw, this thing whistles a little bit. But if I close it off just a little bit, because it won't hurt the airflow, there's only so much airflow as the times point airflow, the whistle gets lower. And if I really close it off to do a Moss Langham, you get a really strong whistle. But more open means less whistling and more like a really air movement sound, okay? Now, oh, that was actually quite a bit loud. Now, for the drip tip, you can open it up. Mine is actually open. So basically that's what you see with the airflow open on the drip tip. Now if I close this drip tip down, I still got a lot of airflow. But this tank really uses the bottom airflow, not only your top airflow. Sorry I got interrupted, and to be honest I don't know where I stopped. So basically last thing I want to say is design is cool, dripper and RGA mode are really cool. You got this drip tip which dims the flavor down but gives you a little more airflow, which is nice as well. One thing I have noticed is if you have really rather low on coils, okay, like 2.0, 2.3, 2.2 and lower, you need to occasionally turn the liquid fill portion, which is right up here, up, and then you hear something or you see the bubbles inside the tank go up because the liquid gets faster used than there is airflow or air coming into the tank, and that means that you create a little vacuum and that holds the liquid back. Now I actually pulled this up, so now it should be soaked with liquid. We take a hit and look. You might have heard it. So there's a little bit of liquid jumping inside there. So overall, would I recommend this tank? Yes, if you get used to postless building, which you can do in 2 hours or less, okay? There's nothing more. So I would recommend this tank. So at last, what I gotta say, thank you for watching. Leave a like if you liked it and comment, it's free. And if you would subscribe, that would be great and make my day.